Gormagat, Gohirlock. Ministers, I thank you for being here today. I want to preface what I want to say. I wouldn't normally speak on this kind of industrial relations issue because I do believe that industrial relations matters are best dealt with in a negotiations room, and they're often best dealt with in advance of strike action, although I do fully accept that the right to strike and the use of strike action is an important tool for workers. So then why, if that is my principle, why am I standing up here today? And the reason I'm standing up here today is that there's more than just an industrial relations issue going on here. There would appear to be an attempt by, and I can only use the word government, but I'll come back to that word, in order to save money over time by not restoring the pay to these workers. There's no other way of explaining what's going on here. There was a very difficult decision made to reduce pay right across the public sector in 2011, and since then there has been a process of restoring pay under building momentum and so on, and yet there has not been enough progress for Section 38s and Section 39s. So the Minister's right, it is incredibly complicated. There are so many different forms of organisations, sizes and types, different types of employment. But let's be clear, that is not because of the Section 38 and Section 39 organisations. That is because decades of Irish governments have relied on voluntary groups in order to deliver what should be a public service. Nearly €6 billion of the HSE's 23 billion falls into the Section 38 and Section 39 organisations. Brendan Gloucester from the HSE was at PAC last week talking about these difficulties. So these are state services provided by voluntary organisations, and the state is the shadow director in all of this because they exclusively fund many of the services. So I return to the word government. Ministers, I know of everybody that holds a ministerial office, both yourself and Minister O'Gorman are probably the chief champions to try and resolve this issue. I wish all 15 members of Cabinet were here because this does affect ministers right across the board. So what I'd say to you, and particularly Minister O'Gorman, because I know you're a member of Cabinet, I want to relay the incredibly strong feeling that was relayed at the Fianna Fáil Parliamentary Party meeting on Wednesday. Not enough is being done to resolve this. In 2018, the process started around the categorisation. It's still not resolved. For some workers, it is still not resolved. And what is most breathtaking is that the 5% offer was made to these workers by people who had had full restoration of their public sector pay. Think of that. People who have had their full pay restored made an offer of 5% to workers who have not had their public sector pay. It's just breathtaking. And what's worse is, even if they had succeeded in getting that 5%, you would be permanently hamstringing the whole sector in order that they would have a recruitment challenge going forward, because they would be constantly competing with the HSE because their pay rate would be below. So not only would you be saving or penny pinching in one area, you'll be creating a recruitment challenge permanently for those Section 38s and those Section 39s. So what I want to say is there's an opportunity now before the strike for government to send a very clear message that this should have been resolved last year, but that this will be resolved now. And it will be resolved around the table, and the government will put the money forward. And I am saying this in the strongest possible terms on behalf of the Fianna Fáil backbenchers, and many couldn't be here because they might be from rural constituencies across the country, but although I know Deputy McGuinness will speak after me, we want this issue resolved. Not for any political gain. We want it resolved because it's the right thing to do for the people who have had their pay reduced for a long period of time. It's the right thing to do for the people who need these services. It's the right thing to do for the Section 38 and Section 39 organisations that are going to need to provide these services. For who? Not for themselves, for us, for the state. They provide these services for us. So I say, Ministers, and I know that each of you, as I say, are strong advocates to try and resolve this issue. You are incredibly strong advocates in this space. But for you to continue to do your job so the Section 38s can do their job on behalf of us in this House, we need to resolve the issue as soon as possible. I do accept some progress has been made, but I believe we need to go faster and quicker. Thank you, Minister.